Congratulations, everybody. We're here. We made it to C1X. Today, we get to talk to Scott Reek and Kenny Underkoffler. Scott brings 30 years of expertise as a course designer, tournament director, and founder of Underpar Promotions. He's designed over 10 courses, directed 317 plus PDGA events, and is an absolute advocate for disc golf. Kenny is out of Wichita, Kansas, and shares his passion for youth disc golf development through the Mini Bombers program and after-school clubs, while also contributing his perspective as a course design collaborator. We really enjoyed sitting down and hearing their stories, and we think you will too. Let's get into it. Scott, Kenny, thanks for coming. This is going to be awesome. I appreciate you, especially Kenny, just like kind of a last minute, like won a tournament today and then like, yeah, I'll be on a podcast too. That's pretty sweet. So thanks for inviting him. And yeah, today, Scott, let's start with this. Let's start with just where did Underpar, what is Underpar? When did you start it? What is Underpar?
Sure. Underpar for a long time was just Scott. It really wasn't intended to be a business or my livelihood. It was just something I created really early in my career, and it's just something I kind of like a logo. You know, it was just more of Underpar, and I didn't really use it except in a few little things I did. But I started in 1995 playing, and around 1997, I started. I wanted to volunteer more, so I volunteered to help Harvey Barger with the Kansas Disc Golf Association. And so I was doing help web stuff, help newsletter stuff, players package kind of stuff. But one of the things I learned real quick they weren't doing was merchandising. And so I was like, you know what? I worked with Dennis Valschultz with Discs Unlimited, and we created kind of merchandising. But I needed a name for it. So Underpar was born. So I created, the very first KansasDiscGolfAssociation.com / well, at the time it was probably like AT&T.net / some kind of crazy thing, but it finished with Underpar. And so I kept that for until I joined the military. But after I got out of the military, I opened a store called Underpar. And then it became my brand as far as me running tournaments, my brick and mortar kind of piece. And then eventually it kind of got to a point where, as much as I love disc golf has a ceiling. So I created the Underpar Apparel Company, which then now I work with schools and hospitals and parks departments, and where it opened up to a lot more than just disc golf. Disc golf is still my niche, but from a business perspective and a livelihood perspective, I'm not specific to just disc golf. I can do anything and everything as far as when it comes to promotional products, apparel. But it evolved into that. And then even kind of backing up, really kind of how I learned even getting into the apparel side with Underpar was I ran so many tournaments that I wanted to do apparel or promote, not traditional players package stuff, but I had a tough time finding it. And if I could find it, I always felt it was really expensive. And I don't even really know how I found it, but I stumbled on how to contract print for screen printing. And I got the connections, I got the requirements that you need to be able to purchase wholesale from clothing distribution. And so then all of a sudden I could get 100 pieces of clothes for a tournament for half of what I was paying. And then I learned all the other tournament directors around me kind of having the same problem. And then that's kind of how that part was born, was all these tournament directors, they're looking for it. So I could make a little bit of money, but still offer them cheaper than a traditional screen printing place, kinds of stuff. Because when you buy shirts, they'll upcharge you not only for the shirt, but the screen, the print, and all that, where I pretty much just have a flat. It doesn't matter what it costs, and I kind of just charge a flat amount that I want to make, and it makes it easier. So when I work with things like Kansas City Wide Open or all these other tournaments, I can work with them. But that's how it started. I just was trying to make my tournaments better. And trying to figure out how to do it. And
that's sometimes where all the great business ideas come from, is just solving your own problem.
I'd say most things I've done. Now it's been tired of waiting on other people or trying to figure out how to do it, or it's just seemed too expensive. So I just researched them. But Underpar has taken a lot from just being something for me to creating it for the Kansas Disc Golf Association, to a full brick and mortar store, to me providing for my tournaments, to now apparel and promotion for anybody. So, and it's still in Underpar Promotions. I mean, I do the course design, I run a lot of tournaments. So it has kind of a big umbrella. I mean, I even do some like retail flipping of stuff, and I call that Underpar. It's all under the same umbrella that I do from my warehouse, where I kind of sell online, different auction places. I do a lot of estate sailing, so I buy and turn around, and that's all under the Underpar umbrella.
Wow,
So, yeah.
nice. I had no idea.
All the bits under the iceberg there.
Yeah, I do sports car. It's all under the umbrella. I mean, so everything I do, anything that does business for me, that's part of my livelihood, all falls under Underpar Promotions.
Okay.
And promotions can be anything.
Right.
So, and then, I get the question about Underpar and, where does Underpar come? And of course, most people don't know me, assume golf. But, so I kind of explain that my niche is disc golf, but I work in pickleball and cornhole. But for me, Underpar was always a professional word. And even if you don't know anything about golf or disc golf, most people know Underpar means it's positive. It's a good term.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, kind of thing. I mean, Underpar, if you look at a certain way, it can kind of sound rough. But most people know when you're saying Underpar that you're saying something positive. So even if I've had people who don't know anything about wear Underpar shirts for work on polos, because they know it's kind of a golfy kind of thing, and it means good. It's not derogatory. It's no way to misinterpret it. And so, yeah. So Underpar has taken a lot of different directions. And
yeah. That's awesome. How long have you guys known each other?
Just a few years now, 3 years maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of got
new relationship.
Yeah, we kind of got connected. We do. There's a lot of tournaments, but a mutual friend, me and him have, Tyson Jones, who does the Farm Path Tour stuff in Kansas and Oklahoma. I started working a lot with him, and then he kind of was doing the course. And then we just kind of connected several years ago on a lot of things that we had in common, or our stuff was overlapping. And then and then we've traveled, done a lot together now.
Ducks in Wichita.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Scott's name quite a bit, and then it just took a while to kind of put a face to it, and then we started, our circles crossed more and more. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been about 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you an Underpar player? Okay.
Yeah, he's one of
Got
my
the
supporters.
jersey on?
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even have it on. It occurred to me. It's like, I got the hat, I
Got the
guess.
hat
but
at least. Yeah.
horrible branding.
Well, let's go back to. So I think Underpar got started in '98, right?
I officially call it, really probably started about 95, but 98 is when I created the Kansas tax ID. And that's when I created an official entity,
Right.
when I started doing the merchandising. So 98 is what I call the official, but really kind of was one of the first things. When I started in 95, I came up with it very quick. And I came up with this little license plate for my car, and there's a Pillsbury Doughboy putting on a basket. I took a vinyl cutter and made a bunch of different layers of stuff. And I don't know why the Doughboy, but I did Pillsbury putting, and it says Underpar Disc Golf, and it's for a license plate. I was bored one day and I started building on it, and then Underpar just kind of, at the time, I was kind of surprised nobody was using Underpar in all the businesses. And of course that was all way pre-internet and, those kind of things. And
That's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So let's go back there though, because you're obviously into disc golf before starting it. So can you take us back to like when you first started getting into disc golf, and just what did that look like, and how was that for you, just finding the sport and getting into it?
in 95, I was 19 at the time, just graduated high school. And honestly, I had friends that I didn't want to go those directions, like some of them they were doing. And to this day, some of us are good friends, but they were making choices that my lifestyle doesn't agree with. So I wanted a new hobby. I wanted something that kind of forced me to kind of do something different. And I always loved golf. And so I was like, okay, we're going to start golfing. But at a 19-year-old kid, is expensive. And I was going to college in Fort Hays State in Hays, Kansas. And I saw or had heard about a game, Frisbee golf. And I'm like, and right away it clicked, golf with a Frisbee. Like just it was second nature. I was like, I knew exactly how to play. Well, I thought I knew how to play.
I know how to play, maybe not how to throw.
And I happened to be at Walmart, and I found a disc in, Frisbee is what they still hold there. And I got it, and that was kind of, I just played. I've now played traditional golf once in a while, but I played disc golf, and I know it was May 18th, 1995, and I knew so much that I loved it that day that I consciously made sure I remembered that date, because I knew it was going to be important forever.
Wow.
So, it was, for me, it was very life-changing. And then I played as much as I could. We're back over in that part of Kansas, there wasn't as much, but then I discovered the Kansas tour, Oz tour, and I started traveling around with a buddy of mine, Mike Chisholm. And and then I wanted to be involved more, and that's how I started talking to Harvey Barker, who ran the Kansas Disc Golf Association. And then I ended up taking over that 99, maybe 2000, until I joined the military in 2003.
Okay.
And then, but I just knew I wanted to be involved. So, and even to this day, I mean, you name it in the sport, I've had podcasts. I've filmed world championships under par. I've owned multiple companies, the apparel, the promotion tournaments, charity events, world champions. I mean, I've done almost everything, I feel like, because I've always, not for any other reason than I want to be involved in everything. I loved everything so much that I want to know it all. And I want to not necessarily have to be good at it, but I just want to know it and I want to be involved in it. And I kind of want, it just makes me happy, I guess, at the end of the day. And so even as I kind of go all the way back to starting, I knew from that first time. Yeah. And
do you remember the course?
What's that?
Do you remember like the first course you played? And
yeah, Villa High in Colby, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is, I feel like that's a rarity. Not a lot of people get that opportunity to just find something and be like, I'm in fully.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites, I'll just share a story, is where I thought Frisbee golf, I thought I knew the whole connection. I was at that course, and I don't remember the hole, but it was a downhill shot. You could just see the bottom of the basket, kind of like a hole 5 at Rosedale when it's in that middle spot, and the trees are in bloom. You can see the bottom of the cage, the pole, but you can't see. So anyways, I threw a shot, hit the bottom of the pole. Ace! So excited. I got ace. I did it. I retired that disc. Like a week later, I was on that hole, or I was playing. I caught up with people coincidentally on that hole, and I'm 19 years old. And I'm like, I got an ace on this. And the two guys are like, you got an ace on this? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what'd you do? So I said exactly how I did. They go, that's not an ace. They go, it's gotta be supported by the chains. And I'm probably, again, not very long into the game at that time. And I just remember being so crushed, like, what? And then it took me like 8 years before I got my first ace.
Wow.
But I always remembered like what I thought was obvious.
Yeah.
So then I don't know to this day, but how many putts I probably said counted that didn't. But I didn't care. I enjoyed it and I loved it. And, and that was pre, UDisc or any kind of digital scoring. Yeah.
I mean, that still happens. I feel like I've been on courses and I'll like putt it or something like that, and it just hits the basket, and somebody be like, does that count? Like, it's always like, no, it has to be in the basket. To this day, it's still like confusing if you're new or don't know what you're watching. But
yeah, it's just like that always kind of stuck with me, and it's just kind of more laughable. Mike, like almost like you're welcome, the disc golf moment of like, all right, this is how you actually play, and it took somebody to kind of almost slap you in the face, like, that's not right.
Where's your days go back to playing disc golf?
So I graduated in '92 from Derby, and we actually I wasn't involved in putting this together, but there was a club put together at our high school, and there's like five guys, and our art teacher, Mr. Knott was his name. And I remember playing, was it the world's biggest?
John Houck.
Yeah, Houck tournament in '92 at Herman Hill. I was absolutely horrible. But it got us out of school a couple days. It was all, it was like, that was really.
I'll take it, yeah.
So, but it was, with some buddies from high school. And then we graduated and all of us went separate kind of directions. I stopped playing and then picked it back up about a little over 10 years ago. I was looking for something for my son and I to do.
Okay.
He was 14 at the time. I love traditional golf as well, and I tried to get him hooked on that so I'd have an excuse to, go spend that money, and he didn't really show much interest in that. And so we had some buddies invite us to go play disc golf, and I was like, I've done disc golf before, so you show up, and horrible.
Yeah.
It's like probably totally different from when you first played.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, it was entirely different, but I didn't remember much from back in the '92 time, other than I remember getting a disc with that stamp. It had been lost, and I actually found one a few years back, and so I've got a disc from that specific tournament, which was pretty cool. But
Wow. Yeah.
but yeah, that's where it kind of started for me, kind of came back, and I always thought I was just going to be a wreck. I enjoyed it. It didn't, it was something, like I say, for my son and I to do. And then he'd come out and throw with me quite a bit for a little while, and then car, job, girlfriend. It's like, see you, Dad.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, I'm full on addicted. It's like
You're also like, all right, see you.
yeah. And the funny thing is like when I started, man, I got immediately. It was like the bag, the cart, and spend $400 or $500. And people were looking at me like, dude, you haven't been playing but a week, and you're spending, and I'm like, you guys don't realize I just dropped like $1,300 on a set of irons, or
Right.
It's like this is cheap. You guys don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the big thing now. I love kind of telling people, it's like, man, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to play disc golf. Get in. Entry is really cheap.
Yep. Yep. And there's a lot of used bins out there that have a lot of good frisbees in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much where I primarily shop.
Absolutely.
Especially if you know what you're looking for. But yeah.
When I was doing the Kansas Disc Golf Association, I don't remember exactly which tournament it was in Wichita, but for 3 years in a row, it was at Herman Hill. I was driving from Hayes, Kansas. 3 years in a row, my car broke down on the way there. And I never was late, but it was always stressful in getting there.
Oh, my
so for years, I hated that course. And I wouldn't want to go to it because it was like, I felt like it was just like karma or something. So, but even to this day, when I go to Herman Hill, my daughter lives really close to Herman Hill now. And it's just, it's like, I always think of that, like, oh, this course.
Leave 2 hours earlier than normal. Yeah. So, kind of back to you getting in Underpar, Scott Reek, loving everything. You've also designed a ton of courses. I say a ton because it is a ton compared to most people, which is 0. I think you're at 10 course designs.
Yeah,
10 officially, not counting. I'm probably closer, I think 13 or 14 with ones that are in process that are contracted but aren't official enough to put a new disc, or I haven't started yet. But the paperwork's all been kind of submitted, kind of stuff.
But talk about being involved. I mean, the thing is, especially if you're in the Kansas City area, if you go down your sheet of the courses you've designed, most of those courses are people's favorite courses, like Heritage, Bull Creek, Cedar Ridge is a huge one. But yeah, Scott, you got some stats on?
Yeah, so with UDIS, we have a course designer profile, and I had Scott fill it out before we came on. And just I think speaking to the impact that you've had over your career designing these courses, is that over 2,000 new players were introduced to disc golf at a course you designed, which is just insane.
That's awesome.
And over 13,000 unique disc golfers have played, 172,000 rounds, 300,000 recreation hours, which Parks and Rec departments love that number. But I think that's just fantastic. They're all in the Kansas City area. So definitely if you've been to Kansas City, you've probably played one of these courses. And I definitely would, like to know more about kind of your process designing, especially I feel like Heritage maybe was a really big project for you, but just kind of how you got started designing, how you have evolved over time. And
so for a long time when I was when I got out of the military, I did a lot of years up in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is where I was born and originally from. That's where my family is at. So even before coming to Kansas City, I did almost 10 years in Wisconsin. I had a brick and mortar store in Wisconsin, ran a lot of tournaments in Wisconsin. And then, but when I was there, I never had designed, but I had helped. I traveled. I've always kind of liked the idea of being a course collector. I mean, nothing like Avery or some of those people, but I'm at 400 and some courses, so I feel like, I'm happy with that. And
sure.
but every time I'd go to courses, I would evaluate courses like I do a lot of things of what I liked, what I didn't like. And I've always kind of been a believer with tournaments, but even courses, is make what you want to see. I go to a tournament because I want this done. So I do it. I like going to a course because I like this amenity or this aesthetic, this style of shot. So I kind of had built that up a lot going in, just throughout growing up. And then, so then I moved to Kansas City, and I when I moved here, Pete Cashin brought me in, and I was one of the ones that helped build the original Dynamic Disc store. So the one over by Rosedale, I created that store along with Pete, and I did everything there. And it's kind of it all kind of reversed around. But one of the things they wanted to do was, there wasn't a lot of tournaments in Kansas City at the time, so they wanted tournaments. And since I had been running about 10, 15 a year in Wisconsin, I brought him. I started doing them here. When it was super early on, I didn't really know how the process worked, but I was working with Shawnee Mission. I ran the Frostbreaker at the Shawnee, the very first Frostbreaker I ran at Shawnee Mission. The parks director, Bill Massa, and his son had played the tournament. So Bill had contacted me about just wanting to chat with me. And so I went to his office, and we were just talking disc golf and things like that. And he goes, "Have you ever designed a course?" And I was like, "Well, not officially. I've been a part of courses, things like that." Oh, well, let me back up. No, first he goes, "Where do you live?" And I was like, 159th and Flum. And he's like, "So by Heritage Park?" I go, "Yeah." It's like right across the street from my house. And he goes, "Have you ever designed a course?" So I gave him that story. And he goes, "Well, I've had on the master plan a disc golf course for Heritage for like 10 years. And I've never been able to find someone to design it." And I was like, on it. Within 48 hours, I went out, which is crazy now because I can't do anything in 48 hours. But in 48 hours, I went in and did what I thought was a preliminary course design. I took it in, did a proposal, everything like that. And on my way home, Bill calls me and says, "It's approved. However, this whole section you just did the approval, we're not going to do it there. We're going to move it over here," which is where it's currently at. So it used to be more of like by the other shelter down closer to the pond. When you first coming behind the golf course, there's a whole bunch of area that kind of goes all the way back to the football fields. That's where I initially designed it. And they're like, "Yeah, we can't use that, but we're going to use," and he gave me all the space that I have now, which is so.
Was that an upgrade or a downgrade or
Upgrade. He almost doubled the land.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and then they gave me all the freedom in the world to do it. It took me a long time to build it, but I learned a lot because there I was cutting. I first cut the first hole, which is hole 4 now, with a handsaw because I did not own a chainsaw. I learned really quick. I went out and bought a chainsaw. But I'm cutting there, and it took me about 4 years to build that course, 3 years to build that course. And I've learned now to ask questions because at the end of that, I went to the parks department. It's like, "Hey, what do you need?" And I go, "I'm trying to do this." And they came out with a machinery that just wiped. It was hole 1, and at the time, the entire hole 1 was these little sapling, little 1-inch trees down the entire thing. And I was like, "It's going to take me forever to cut all those out." And they cut it out in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, that would have took me 2. So I learned, when you're into that stuff, ask. But that's kind of how it all started, was working with that course. And then I developed a good relationship with Johnson County, which is kind of how Big Bull Creek, Shawnee Mission, the new Shawnee Mission design that I'm doing now kind of came in. Lexington Lake and DeSoto kind of went. And then as I kept doing it more, other parks started. Like, so Cedar Ridge was a big fan of Heritage. And so I kind of got brought in. And actually Cedar Ridge, they posted online a design that was horrible. And then me and Pete, they contacted me and Pete, and then we went and looked at it, and then I got the Cedar Ridge. And I'm working on a course in Leavenworth because they're a fan of Cedar Ridge. And so it just kind of spread that way. But, I often get the question, like, how do you get into course design? Like, and I'm just like, for me, it was the right place, right time. It was a lot of, I think Heritage took me a long time, but all those things that I did beforehand by looking at how do I want flights, how do I want the discs to land, how do I want them to fly on the holes, was helped make that course. And often when I look at designs, and sometimes, no offense to other designers, but they'll go make a course super fast. And I'm looking at like the new Shawnee Mission. It's like, I probably have 30 visits on hole 2 alone, because I'm looking in 50 feet increments of every little thing. Because I've learned when I cut this tree, you might not realize that now there's an aesthetic on the ground, a slow rolling hill. I've got a big oak tree or something that I need to keep, maybe even an old rotted out root, or stump, but I want to incorporate that. And when you just say, I want to cut 400 feet, 80 feet wide, however, you miss a lot of that, and you don't get the curvatures. So for me, it's very slow, and I got to do that with Heritage, and I've been fortunate to do that with almost all courses. I mean, even the Shawnee Mission course, which is probably 60% open still, it took me 2.5 years to make, and it's just because I'm kind of picky about it. But that's what I I want to design it based on how I want to play it. And so I often go back and forth, and I know Kenny and many people have gone on the tours way before it was open of here's what I'm thinking, and some of them will give me ideas, and probably most of them I'm like, thank you, but I definitely get ideas once in a while that's like, that's brilliant, and I didn't think about it. And but yeah, I'm looking for landing zones, and I'm looking for righty flex up hyzers that have to hit a certain line, of sidearm, trying to eliminate people throwing just big open hyzers. Me and him did the Nevada Open Country Club just recently, and me and him go back and forth. A lot of it was, he looked at it one way, and I'm looking like, I want this flight, I want this very specific style shot, and kind of what I tell a lot of designers: get 100 designers, you get 100 courses. None of it's wrong per se.
Right.
It's just we're different. But for me and everything going forward is I want a flight, I want a landing zone, I want it for something very specific, and trying to also have an array on a course, so you're just not throwing the same shot, 14 times in a row kind of thing.
Yep.
But really, that's for me for course design was my philosophy is build it the way I want it, and if it's open, I would try to utilize things like grass patterns. Kinds of stuff like that for out of bounds, adding some trees, strategic trees here and there, moguls, elevate, like Cedar Ridge on hole 6 has the big elevated. If you've been a big bowl on hole 3, it's a wide open, but I built that elevated island,
Yeah. Okay.
things like that. Just the little things that make that open. Now all of a sudden when you're especially there, it's windy,
Yep.
40 feet out, and now you're putting nose up into a wind.
Yeah.
You've got to land it properly,
Yeah.
but it's only a 280-foot hole. So, but it's a tough, you don't play it right. So that's a lot of just trying to be creative, but I'm also a big aesthetics. I love beauty. As much as I love the game and I want to see the flight, I want you to walk off the course, regardless how you played, just that you had a fun walk.
Yeah.
And you walked away. If I take my wife or kids or take someone's spouse, they might not care about the game, but I want them to enjoy the nature and the beauty of the course. And so I really big into what can we do to or utilize areas that green in properly. I'm learning more and more all the time about the types of grass and the types of greens and the trees, and just so I can utilize what's it going to look like in the summer versus fall, because these are going to have a burning red, and just different things like that I don't think necessarily a lot of people really look at. But for me, I don't know. Just again goes back to that whole make it the way I want to see it, the way I want to do it. So and tournaments are the same way. I do the same thing. So
Well, you've been in it long enough to be able to see those things. If you haven't been in it that long, it's hard to even know that you should be looking at these particular things.
Right.
So,
and a lot of times when I get people who will come up to me and say, well, why didn't you do this? And I'll explain to them well, this is the shot I'm looking for. And a lot of people, they look at their shot, like, why isn't it
Their
designed? Because
ability.
I don't throw this shot, or I'm not good at this shot, and I'll try to explain to them well, this is the shot I'm making, and the hole is made for this shot, not made for your throwing. So for you to play the hole properly, you have to learn that shot.
right.
But even today when we did the tournament, we played the new Shawnee Mission course on kind of a hybrid layout, a mix of the new course and the old course. And I have people, why did you do this? And because it's new. And when I explain to them, most of the time they're kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But until that moment, they just see it one way, and so when they kind of see how I looked at it, it makes sense. And occasionally you get people who still think they know more about it, and some probably do, but yeah.
We're all passionate about it, so you're probably just mostly hearing passion than knowledge. But
Like I said, 100 courses, 100 designers, 100 courses.
Oh, for sure.
And even when me and him talk, we'll look at it as like, is that idea better than this idea?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then there's not a reason to change it. It's just the same idea, just a different angle, as an example. So I was like, why change what we've already created for the same thing, just at a different spot,
okay.
and so, yeah.
So you guys have worked on a design together?
Yeah, we worked on a couple.
Nevada's been the more specific,
Nevada.
so we helped with the A tier that just happened a couple weeks ago down in Nevada, and there's 2 courses on the Frankie Peters golf course, and then now there's the one on the Country Club Nevada. So all 3 of them are ball golf courses.
Okay.
When they had, before I came on, Avery Jenkins had created the course, and then they had came in and modified it, and then about 3 years ago, then I came in and just started tweaking it, or helping them tweak it. So we always kind of say the Nevada courses are, he's kind of the designer for it, but I give my input from there. And then the Country Club is the opposite, where country club's technically probably my design, but I bring him a lot. And just Friday night, because we just had the tournament, so we're already looking at 2026. We brought it up on the computer, and because it was first year we used it, and I only had like 3 trips to design it.
Yeah, it came together real quick.
Yeah, so we shredded the course of like, this is what we want to do to make it better. And of course, some things were right away, were good, and then some cases were like, we kind of go back and forth of type of things, and some things you just got to wait till we get there because we're looking at it on Google Earth, and you just can't really tell on Google Earth.
Well, and then you see a bunch of people play it. Like I played the course,
and I didn't.
And then you're like, okay, well, you know, change little things here and there, just playability. Yeah. You just don't, until you actually get a full round in, you know, you don't get a good feel of it.
For sure.
A lot of people don't realize the course is it's never ending. Like if an individual is focused on a course, so like my courses, I'm the only one for the most part that touches it. Even through the Kansas City Club, we might have course coordinators. With my courses, they work with me on them. It's just kind of something that I require, but we make little changes all the time. And where you look at some courses and they'll have like 9 baskets on hole. And that's because they've constantly got new people and everybody looks at it different.
Okay.
You know, and so then it becomes overwhelming with, well, what's the shot? And then some holes are 10 feet apart. You got a basket here and a basket here, and it's like, well, what's the difference? But somebody wanted to be a part of that. But nice thing with how I do it is, since I'm the only one who does it, I can fine tune it and I can look at it, and I look every tournament. I'll look at all the statistics. And that is a perk of running as many tournaments I do, is I get to see all those different layouts of how people are going to play them. And, but I definitely feel like I'm pretty passionate about it. And I wish it's something, my wife has actually suggested, and it's like, why don't you do course design like full time, like Eric McCabe or Avery?
Sure.
And I was like, I just think my process is too difficult. I would have to, because those guys, it's so expensive for them to travel across the country. And I was like, I'd have to be there for like 7 days straight for 80 hours going through it.
You'd have to
for me to be happy with it.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'd still have to go back and forth, like when they start cutting, you know, because I was like, are you cutting exactly what I want cut? And, you know, so like the Leavenworth course I'm doing, they're doing the cutting, but I paint on the ground and I mark all the trees. And I basically say, wipe the ground out, touch the trees with the ribbons. Do not touch anything else. And even already, it's like, nope, you guys cut this section out. And I, you know, so sometimes you don't have a control, but when you're not doing it, but from the design, then I have to now go back and look at like, well, that changed that totally. So now I have to go back and then they get mad because I'm like, now we got to cut all of this. Because, you know, so, but yeah, sometimes it's probably almost a little too personal. Like it's, you know, but it's kind of art, you know, to me it's art, and it's, if someone's painting something, it's, you know, but it's my name behind it and I want people to enjoy it. And I know not everybody will, and it's okay, but I at least want to know I did my best to enjoy it.
You know that I understand. As a designer, I totally understand what you're talking about. So.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like working on the course for you, Kenny? Like,
I've like helped just put eyes on courses. You know, Bill Paulson in Wichita is kind of like Scott, where he's touched a ton of courses. And so I've kind of come alongside him on a couple, just looking at stuff. I mean, I wouldn't even claim that I was much help, you know. And then
really good backboard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just soaking up knowledge, you know, you know, you don't cut trees, you know. It's easy. You
can't put them back.
Right. You can't put them back. Right. So but the first one that I really did was at Nevada. So Avery Jenkins did the outside course, and he was pretty limited on what he could use on the property. So it followed the outside, you know, perimeter of the property.
The golf club.
Yeah, golf. Yeah. So
that makes sense.
So, and it flowed with traditional golf.
Okay.
So that was like the first year or two, and then after that, we were able to add another course to the property, and so then I kind of had full reign of the inside course, and I pretty much plotted that mostly from an aerial view, and then we showed up, and then between like 2 or 3 of us, we were, you know, made little changes here and there.
Yeah.
So I love it. I mean, I'm an artistic guy by nature. Dabble in graphics, music. It's just so I do look at it as a kind of a passion project of it's artsy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so yeah. So I'm a good second chair guy. I come along and I'm like, hey, yeah, help out and
It's always good to know your role and be good
Yeah,
at your
yeah.
role.
yeah.
So for
Yeah,
sure.
another one that I've been real heavily involved in is what's the
Park
name?
City.
Yeah, Arkansas City Spring Hill is another traditional golf course. We were talking to them, and this is again from being associated with Farm Path Tour and Tyson Jones. He's like, hey, you want to come over? And so I, go and most of that is from my design as well, and so then they actually have a permanent installation on the course now.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
That's great.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, Kenny's really become for me. I mean, I have several people that, especially local, that I really trust their opinion, and just their opinion. And Kenny's been a big one that we've kind of. I mean, he came up and looked at the Shawnee Mission course a couple months ago, and so I mean, I a lot of times we're both very similar, but we do have enough differences that makes me think, and I think when he's looking at it, I probably do the same for him, make him think. But we are on the same page on a lot of things, and which is sometimes good for just a reassurance, but it's also just enough of bumping heads that makes you think. Even today, he played that course, and they got to play some of the new stuff, and we've gone back and forth on like pars, things like that. And pars is sometimes a tricky subject of what should be a 3 and a 4, and we're kind of going back and forth. And nice thing, of course, I got the final say, so I'm like, shut up. But those are good arguments, and often, they're good points, and they're not necessarily wrong. They just don't necessarily change anything.
Yeah.
And it's been nice. It's nice having, the couple people that I have, even local, that can just, push, and they all know that, they given their opinion and being honest, and I may or may not take that information,
Right.
but I like having it. And I do feel like there's a lot of people that don't necessarily. I think they're just almost, it's my way or the highway kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times for me it's my way, but not necessarily the highway. I mean, I'm open to listening. Even Heritage, there's several ideas that I took just from other people. Das Loomis walked through the course with me, and we're one's gold basket at what initially was supposed to be two's pad there.
Okay.
And playing almost to behind where one short is at, like cuts in. And that was my initial design. And he had it didn't really show, but he kind of pointed it out. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like that basket way better over there. And then hole 5, Joe Hesting, we're walking and we're going way left of where hole 5's at now. And he's like, what about these over here? And I'm like, just sections that I hadn't at the time processed to think. And I designed, but because him looking at it with me, picked it hole 14, 15 with they've got those big monster oak trees at Heritage. Same thing. He kind of, what about back in here? Because I was set like, here's my design. I'm good with this. And even those couple of comments taught me look at all of it.
Yeah.
Kinds of stuff. And now I look at everything. I'll go border to border and look at stuff, because he just, but even we looked at Nevada Country Club, because I only had a few times, I made the layout. And one of the last time when we were mapping it on UDisc, we got up to our hole 17, or it was actually 18. And I'm just like, in the very first half of way to the right looked boring. It's just an uphill shot. And so I just walked over there and looked, but when you got to the top, all of a sudden it had this huge valley, it's rows of groves of trees, and both of us right away like, that's it.
Yeah.
But we skipped it the first 3 times. I was just not looking at edge to edge. Yeah. I just looked at it from a distance of like, it's just an uphill boring shot.
Right.
But you learn a lot with other people, and so.
My fun story about Heritage is, I think it's hole 5. I'm pretty sure it's hole 5. But before you put tee pads in, you just had like little pink ribbons of like, I'm pretty sure the tee box is going here. I think you were like, people, please go play. You're probably looking for feedback. Before I put the concrete in, I want to make sure this is good. But hole 5, I got an ace on that hole from the marked tee pad. Okay. And it's not where the tee pad is now. So it's been like moved, and it's like, well, I have aced hole 5, but not.
Yeah.
I don't know officially now
Yeah.
because it's not where an tee pad was, but
14 I aced, which is the one that going up the hill, and it's the
Yeah.
one surrounded by the logs.
yeah, the
I
fire
aced
pit
it.
hole. As
Yeah,
I
but when I had the natural pads, it was 30 feet farther up than it is now.
okay.
Oh, wow.
And so I got it during Kelly Babbitt was with me there. I skipped off the logs.
Oh, wow.
Got it in the
my
basket. And
That's a
then
tough
again,
shot.
kind of learning from after some of those other scenarios, I remember I looked back and I was like, well, I got that fence line. So then I took it all the way back to that fence line.
Oh, okay.
But before I did that, and part of that was what you said, is like I was trying to make sure before I put concrete in.
Yeah.
But the natural pads were 30 feet forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting when you think of the natural pads. I mean, so the next hole where we're tucked way back into the right, it was on the gravel rock walking path initially outside the trees.
Yes.
So it was more of a straight shot instead of kind of serpentine shot.
okay.
But everybody was throwing monster hyzers over the top of all the trees, and I didn't like that.
Yep.
So I moved it.
Can't do that now.
Yeah.
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 So sometimes I do see shots, even when we talked to Nevada, there's one hole, it's a tunnel shot. We really liked it. I watched people play it, and everybody just took little hyzers. I'm like, nope, got to change that.
Gotta change
Keep
it.
the hole, but I got to move the
Location,
pad
yeah.
just to where that's not an option.
Yep.
So sometimes when you see them, but some of the courses, like the new Shawnee Mission, even Leavenworth, they have to get the pads in so early that now it's almost the opposite of like, I got to move my baskets because the concrete's already down.
Yeah.
You know, like the
Is
Shawnee
that
Mission pad.
awkward because the pads are literally facing a certain direction?
Well, they're already preset. So then as I change my mind on things, I'm limited to what now I was like, well, I have to do something here.
It has
now.
to go that
You know,
direction.
or
for
there's
sure.
been times I'm kind of like, nope, I want to scrap that hole because I found another hole and I want to create this flow differently. It's like, well, I can't because I already have a $800 concrete T pad down.
Yeah.
But in their budgets, they're like, we got to put them down. I mean, Shawnee Mission's pads have been down since March or something.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's just, yeah, now I'm kind of tied to, well, that's my layout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even the new Leavenworth course, I got a lot of, so I think it'll be a really good course, but they're getting ready to put the pads down, I think, like this coming month. And I was like, I haven't even finished designing these sections.
Yeah.
So now I have to design around those. And it's fine. It's just sometimes, and that's the politics sometimes
Like
with
the
things.
trade-offs of, you know, it's like the city's covering it, so
Yeah.
they have a certain amount of control.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's even though I'll say it's, you know, I'll often call Heritage my park, you know, my course. It's just, it's not. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Johnson County's course, but
Well, you know
it's
what they
personal.
say about art too is once you've made it,
Yeah.
it belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you designed it, good job, and thumbs up. But art belongs to everyone now. Like, probably everyone goes, "This is my home course." Like, there's as much pride into this course, probably as you have, as they being their home course that they play league with all their friends at. Like, it kind of does belong to everyone now, you know. But
And probably one of the things I really also like about designing courses is not even from the personal aspect, but just knowing that you've created something that so many people play, like you just showed, but even after I'm gone. You know, unless the park removes it, I mean, 30 years down the road, you know, and maybe I moved on or I'm gone or whatever, but people are still playing, you know, and there isn't a connection. Oh, this is a Scott course, but people are, growing and up and watching those. And then it's really neat. Heritage is kind of a unique course or where people do a lot of photographs. Like they got the equestrian jumps, like behind hole 3. I've seen family or senior pictures and family pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Those areas. The hole 12, the tree stump hole. I just saw not too long ago. A family was wearing doing a
All
picture,
dressed up.
and they were all inside that clump of trees, hanging in all the trees with the basket center behind it. And that's just one of those things you look at as like, it's cool, but it's cool that they saw the art vision that I saw
Right. Yeah.
when I created that hole.
Right.
And even hole 3, I had left that equestrian jump behind it. Intentionally, I designed because I wanted that backboard there, and it's a horse jump on a disc golf course.
well,
And-
because it's literally right there by the course.
Yep.
Like,
And I don't know if it was still there when you guys start, but you were talking about playing when it was still natural pads.
yeah.
And I don't know if it's still there, but hole 3, when we still had natural pads, when you walked from hole 3 to hole 4, in the creek to the right, there was like I don't know the exact year, but like a 1928 gangster coupe car that was just rusted out in the bottom of the creek. And all the years I cleaned out around it. And the whole years I looked, I was like, that's just awesome. I kept part of the equestrian jump was there because it protected that. But when you walked by, you saw this thing over there. All my approvals They talked about it. Parks directors, they talked about it. And then all of a sudden one day, they took it out. And I'm like, what happened? They go, well, it was a health or a hazard. It's a discipline. They're like, all right, well, I get that, but we couldn't have talked about that. Like, I'm almost thinking, like, I would have probably redesigned the hole to have kept that.
Yeah.
You know, and all my approvals, and of course, that was my first course, so I didn't really process exactly some of that stuff. But now I've looked, I'm like, I would have totally did. Even though when I look at that hole, I was like, how would I went over here? So then I also learned, because there's about 20 acres of heritage I had never used that were
That's what I
allocated to the
heard,
course, but I will probably never get now because they built those trails and
Yeah.
they won like beautification awards. And so like
It is a
behind
great
hole
trail.
15 and 16, all the way to the football fields on the master plan, that's all disc golf. And there's some pretty cool shots in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now I've learned use it all.
Yeah.
So with the Shawnee Mission course, anybody who paid attention, initially the Shawnee Mission course was supposed to be 4 9s. When they
That's
did,
what I heard,
they
yeah.
did a bunch of stuff. So then they brought me in to do it. And I was like, okay, we got the Art 9, which is what I did first.
Yeah.
And then I started working on the Wooded Prairie, so where the existing course is at. And that's what that course will be called, the Wooded Prairie at Shawnee Mission Park. And then there was the 9, and they called that 9 over there Cedar Ridge, which is also kind of cool because they named it after the Cedar Ridge course. That's what it reminded them of. But I started walking through all of that, and I walked the entire property, and I called them up one day and said, I can make 9 par 5s and still have a ton of room. And I was like, I would really like to make this a separate 18. My saving grace was Black Huff just came out,
Yeah.
and they wanted to compete. There's like inner parks, like, because their first question was, can you make it better than Black Huff? Of course, I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. You know, Black Huff's a good course. I mean, but
Yeah.
it was just more of like, I'm kind of like, yeah, of course. You know, and then they proved it instantly. Over, like, I didn't even have to, like, all these other process. Like,
They
get
just
that-
approved the concept, not you haven't actually put a design together or anything.
No,
Right.
no, and that's my next phase after the Wooded Prairie, and then that course actually is now called the Hickory Hills. And so but that'll probably be a few years before I touch that course. But that was all part of it. Is I utilized everything to be like, I'm not gonna I make this little 9-hole course and waste all that space you're giving me. I learned my lesson. Let's
Yeah.
utilize as much as possible.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So R9, then like Wooded Prairie is kind of like this intermediate, and then Hickory Hills is going to be the future
Hickory Hills will be a beast.
beast. Okay.
The Wooded Prairie, it has teeth.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's like, it measures like a 62, 64 from tips to tips on everything.
Okay.
But there's a short to shorts, which measures at a 54.
Is it multiple tees then?
There is half the holes have 2. I just figured actually on the way up here for some random reason, but half the holes have 2 pads.
Okay, cool.
The other half are just 1 pad. And then almost all of them have 2 basket locations. And all the baskets will be in the ground, so you never
Okay.
have to move them.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yep. And then their design, like one thing I had to do with Heritage, because we moved baskets, is their design kind of in, like, I'm going to move it from here to here. But now that I have multiple baskets, like hole 1, if anybody's paid attention, that middle spot in hole 1, it's damaged, but it hasn't been there in like 2 years. It's just been the short to the left and the super long, because I don't like that basket right in the middle of the fairway, because it's like having just a random basket. So I've actually been cutting out to the right. So eventually you have left, right. But Shawnee Mission, I designed so baskets aren't right in the way.
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah, Black Oak had that on hole 12 on their par 5. They had a basket like literally right in the middle of the fairway as a shorter version for the blues or something like that. And they just recently moved it off to the left. And I was like, good. Like, thank you for doing that. Like, it was so kind of annoying. Like, if I hit that basket on a good line, like I could birdie this hole, and if I hit the basket, I'd be pissed.
Cedar Ridge, hole 6, the one on the island, that had the short was up to the right. And it's not a big change, but I had it moved to the left. And it's because where it was up to the right, it was right in the way of where people were trying to, the way that whole angles, the left side's pretty protected by the wall of trees. But the right, especially if the people throwing forehand, the basket was right in the way. So yeah, as I've done more and more courses, well, most of my courses I like is I want all the baskets. And I don't want to have people have to move baskets anymore.
Yeah, the moving has got to be annoying for whoever signs up for that job.
But even Cedar Ridge, and now they have multiple baskets, but like hole 15, there's still that little basket right in the middle. And the problem there is I have nowhere else to move it really. Like we have to move it closer to the property line to the left, and that property line's kind of off limits. So with that, so I was like, I've also said, I was like, I'd almost just assume take that one out.
Yeah, the shorter one.
Yeah, versus the one tucked into the right.
Yeah.
But that's the way he designed it at the time. We were designing it on baskets moving.
Yeah.
But I want, when you have now, it's, even like at Wooded Prairie, you've got longs and shorts, is I want 4 holes. I don't want just longer. It's like, if you're playing the short, it's a distinctly different hole than the long. So like, I want 4 holes on the hole if I have it that way. So then you've got all kinds of choices. It's just not longer. Sometimes it kind of drives me crazy. Like, same shot, it's just 100 feet farther. Like, I was like, I want a different left or a different right, a different landing zone, different flight, as much as possible. It's not always perfect, and sometimes it's just too good, and you want to leave it as the simplicity.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, sounds like a big upgrade for Shawnee Mission Park.
Yeah.
So that'd be great.
Huge.
I've only heard good things about the Art 9. Still need to get out there.
Oh, it's
Kids, but
Yeah.
the R9 from a UDIS thing. I would think would be a pretty big thing. I mean, it's R9 has to. I'd be curious to see, and actually, I can see from my end, but how much traffic that R9 really gets in retrospect to other courses. I mean, it gets a lot of traffic because not only a lot of the kids and stuff that play it, but also everybody practices it before going to the Shawnee Mission course.
Yeah.
It's a great little warm up. 9 for 20 minutes before you go hit the. I know today during the tournament, that's where everybody was at lunch. They went in there and played to warm up before they got on the course.
That's like the exact type of course we need. 1,000 more, 2,000 more of.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, because also people that are going through that course getting a lot of foot traffic is just people going through there and looking at the sculptures.
Yeah.
Like so many times when I've taken my kids to go play there, we have to like wait on a hole because they're literally like in the middle of the fairway looking at a sculpture. Which is great. They have no idea. They even see us and they don't even know that they're in the way. They're just like, hey, how are you? You guys enjoying the trail too? And like, well, we're trying to throw to that basket we're standing in the middle of. But
that course is.
But they're going to eventually notice that people are throwing frisbees out here, and that's more eyes on this sport.
Yeah.
So
that's a prime course of aesthetics. So like that, before caring too much, that course was actually really hard to design. That was my hardest course I think I've ever designed, and it's because it was too short. The first time I did it out there, they were like, we want a short course for the kids. I'm like, all right, 200 feet holes. Then I submitted everything. They're like, it's good, but it needs to be shorter.
Yeah, shorter.
So I made it like 160 feet. It's good. It needs to be shorter. Then finally I go 80 feet. They're like, good. And I'm like, how do I make an 80-foot hole? And in my mind, I was like, I don't want just an 80-foot hole. I still want flight. I still want landing. I still want a little, challenge in there. And then I had the art in there and the way the rolling hills and like someone built a teepee however long ago that's kind of right in there. And there was just a lot of really cool aesthetics and rolling hills. You finish on that little downhill shot. So that course, because there was so much aesthetics and character to it, on top of me trying to make creative 80-foot holes, and I think it turned out great. It's I've had people like you go to like Sarco Park. It's a fun little course, but like Art 9 is considerably harder than the Sarco. Well, it's more challenging. I won't say harder, but it's more challenging because it's not just straight.
Yeah.
You still have to go left or right and some trees, and that's what I wanted. It's just I still want the beauty of the shots and the flight.
Yeah, I think people need to understand, like, and you do if you have kids, like we all, or I do, we all do here, but it's like, my second grader's really into disc golf. He like asked me to go play all the time. We play Prairie Pass a lot. He likes going there. But we play the Art 9, but an 80-foot hole is like perfect for a second grader. Yeah. He can throw that far, but he wants to birdie. If it's any farther than that, like he can get 100 feet, but if it's a past 100 feet, like he's not getting the disc there. I turn those immediately into par fours for anybody like over that. It's like, it's a par four for you. Because like they want birdies just as much as we want birdies, and it's like if a kid can never get birdies or they can never actually have an ace run because every basket is just way too far, then it's like they're not going to be into it. Right. Like if you remember us getting into it, like you were 19, like most of us were like very much older. It's like, we could probably birdie a 250-foot, 300-foot basket. And guess what? We're trying to birdie it, if not ace it. Well, a second grader is the same thing. Like, especially nowadays where they're watching like, all these trick shot people, Dude Perfect and things like that. Like, they want an ace. Yeah. And if we don't give them opportunities where like, okay, 80 feet, I can throw that far. Like, they're probably not going to have that much fun.
So there's a guy who goes out to Art 9 almost every day, or I see him out there all the time. and his goal is a perfect 9 down.
Yes.
Or he plays it all the time. He's playing 5, 6, 7 times doing it, and his goal is 9 aces in a round. He's told me he's gotten 3, which I think is amazing in itself.
Yes.
But that's why he's just playing ace runs, things like that. He's not doing any, like, it's only first off the tees. I mean, he'll throw.
Yeah.
He said he's gotten them all 9, and he's had more than 3 in a round if he's thrown multiple shots.
Yeah.
But only 3 where he officially counts it. So there's
Having fun.
so kind of on the Art 9, to be totally opposite is opposite in the same realm is there's a new course I'm getting ready to start in Moran, Kansas, which is out by Fort Scott. It's a little tiny property. They're going to get 9 holes. The entire width of the property is 320 feet, and the entire length is 200 feet. And there are 3 trees on the entire property.
Wow.
So
Challenge.
yes. So when I looked at it, and so I'm having to ask questions like, how do I have a fence like maybe I could use and stuff like that. But the first questions I was like, first of all, these are all 80-foot holes. And I've mapped them out. I can get like without looking at any aesthetics. Just I walked out. Okay, all right. Here's my flow, but it's the most boring course ever. In that the way it is now, in that sense. So when I proposed to them, or when they brought me in to look at it, I was like right away, like, and they're kind of a farm little town, and so I was like, "You have a welding department?" Like, yeah. They always have projects. We need welding sculptures. We need to, and then I go, "You have parks department does it?" I go, "I need moguls. I need dirt." I kind of showed them pictures of those elevated islands. I was like, "You have Boy Scouts who need Eagle projects?" I was like, "What we need to do on this course is build," and I even kind of presented as think of miniature golf.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where my mind was going
Yes.
this whole time you were talking.
Yeah, and over in at Swope Park, not our Swope Park, but Swope Park over by Emporia, Conwood Falls.
Yeah.
They have a little 9-hole course that plays through like tractor tires and swinging baskets and things like that. But so I'm
My
now
boys would love that.
so I'm having to now propose this course from a design is like I'm designing in a totally different way.
Yes.
It's not just putting the baskets, because there really isn't putting baskets based on flight at 80 feet with no trees. So now I'm kind of having to be creative. Like, how do I make little elevation? How do I make something in the way?
Yeah.
Or at least that it's fun to look at. So I'm a little nervous with that course, but at the same time, I'm excited for the challenge because it's not like I have a raw canvas that I get to cut. I have a blank white piece of paper that I got to now plug in. And from
You got to put stuff on it.
and from a designing standpoint of like what I do with graphics, and I'm sure you're very familiar, and you got to come up with something with no ideas.
Yeah, there's not a lot to draw off of.
Yeah, there's no.
Right.
Yeah, there's no. You should do this and this. It's like it's all me, and they're very supportive of it. I mean, there's some finance stuff there, but they're very supportive of it. And so I think I'll be starting that in the spring, but I've been processing a lot in my head. Like, what am I doing? I've been like Googling stuff. I've gone back to every course I've ever thought of things that I've liked.
But see, that kind of stuff is huge because, like, with me dealing with a bunch of schools now, most of the schools are just blank canvases. Very few trees. Tons of property, and they, a lot of them are very interested in starting disc golf programs and things like that. But then it's like, well, you can't just drop 4 or 5 baskets out here. It's like it's going to be the same. So coming up with things that you could put in place to make it more interesting in a pretty wide open space. I think that's like for getting in schools is going to be massive. And if we can do that and do it somewhat inexpensively.
And these guys got a grant, so they were excited about putting in it. They are for schools or youth groups. It's kind of off of sports complex, so things for kids to do during that time. I'm kind of interested there. But also something I have never done that I've never even thought about before this is how you name a course. Sometimes I just take a name. Sometimes I've had the ability, like Wooded Prairie or Cedar Ridge, like come up with the names, which is kind of probably one of my favorite parts. But I've never thought that I need to call a course a junior course or a family course. Like this course is so small, I feel like I have to call it a junior course or a family course because otherwise when everybody else comes, you could say it's a short 9-hole, But then all of a sudden, it's like people's expectations are, it's a 9-hole course, not a 9-hole junior course or 9-hole family course.
I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, I think you like we have the difficulty labels on UDIS now, and I think we've realized we need a very easy or like something below easy because like you were saying, you proposed 200 feet, and it's like, is that actually easy? Like that's like we need that 80 feet, and that's like a different class almost.
Yeah.
And I think people can see that like when they're looking at the course, like, oh, these are like 80 foot. This is a putting course for me.
Yeah.
Like, but.
I think there's a lot of people look at them though that just don't look. They just see the course, and I see that a lot when they come to mine. And I've had it at Heritage where they're like, "Oh, we didn't know it was this wooded," or stuff like that. They're not looking at distances. Oh, we didn't know there was a 1,000-foot hole on the course. Heritage doesn't 1,000, but something like that.
so
People,
crazy
I
to
think,
hear
sometimes
that.
just pick it. So a part of what I'm thinking with this is like it's going to be called the City Park Family Disc Golf Course. Like I want it in there so it's educated before you before you get there, that this is what the course is. One, to kind of set expectations, but also my hope is that it, like having things like junior family to people who aren't as familiar, like, oh, this course is made for my kids, or a father and son to play with. It's not just a course and they're too big. Like this course is designed for them.
Yeah.
And my hope is by utilizing that a little bit, that'll
I think I like family better than junior because
junior
like,
specific.
Like if you think of a woman that's like just starting for the first time, or like some men that are starting for the first time, like 80 feet might be the perfect distance for them. So it really like
good. Yeah.
So like it doesn't have to be for a kid necessarily.
Sometimes you're relying on like families at the park seeing what's going on, and then signage at the park. If it says family disc golf, you might actually get them over there. Otherwise, because they don't go to UDisc yet. They don't know about UDisc yet.
Right.
Where for me, like, man, I'm going to a new course. I pull up I want to look at pictures.
Well, I'm that way too. Yes, but
And until they, got a couple rounds underneath them and ran into the right people to say, hey, by the way, there's this app, man. And I don't know how many people I've pulled up like the Wichita area, and then their eyes just go like this because there's like so many courses. Yeah. I'm like, there's a course for you out there.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah, I think I'm on the boat of like, don't call it junior just because there's the guy that's out there running around trying to ace every hole.
I agree.
Like, it can be for everyone. So
I agree. I keep saying, dude, but family is kind of where I've.
I think if you're going to label, not that in my opinion it matters, but family sounds better because that's probably where I would take my kids and things like that. I wouldn't necessarily like go play the Art 9 by myself. Unless I was just trying to sit there and get aces or whatever for fun. But I think that's what I like about the Art 9 just being called the Art 9. But that seems to be, like, I would say don't be discouraged by how short you have to make holes. Like, if anything, just be like, it's a whole new game. Like, think of that second grader that's just
For sure.
Well, I'm not
saw
anymore.
Gannon Burr on YouTube and was like, I want to try disc golf. And then he gets there and he like shows up and he hits the pole on his first round. It's like, dude, that kid's hooked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give
It
him the
doesn't-
opportunity,
It doesn't bother me now. And like I said, when I did the
Yeah.
Art 9, that was a learning experience of kind of everything that you do, kind of like just doing the golf course. And every little terrain is different. But doing the 80 foot never really processed. And then now as I go into this Moran one, like, okay, I got 80 feet down. Like, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
But now I got to figure out how to, where Art 9, I had a ton of woods to work with. Here it's like I don't. So now it's going the opposite, like invert. But I'm excited. I like the challenge. So.
Well, I can say right now, like, I think the Art 9 we've talked about on the last 4 episodes, it's been brought up. So if it's helpful, like, it's some eyes are opening up and kids are loving it and parents are loving to play with their kids. And I think just even warm up before they go play the Big Shawnee Mission. Even people coming out there probably like, that was a really fun little course. That was cool. Like, we need more of those for sure.
100%. Yeah.
I notice when I play the short courses in Wichita with the kids after school, my upshot game gets so much better.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, it's like it's perfect practice for that.
Yep. So that's a good transition because you've been talking about like working with kids in disc golf and things like that. The little bombers, I believe, right?
Mini bombers.
Mini bombers. Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of came right after COVID. We'd see so many new families and like entire families coming out. And then what ended up happening is I'd see a bunch of kids and they'd be with adults and there wouldn't be any other kids around. And so I kind of put together this league for juniors. And it was really just an excuse for the kids to get together and realize that there are other kids out there playing, and you didn't have to throw as far as mom or dad or whoever, you know. So, and that's really how it started. And we were at first meeting weekly, almost pretty much year round if the weather was good. And so everybody would come together. The kids would end up playing, but then the adults, parents would end up throwing as well. So we got a lot of kids hooked on disc golf, and then a lot of their parents who weren't very avid disc golfers. Then a handful of them started playing quite a bit as well.
Wow.
So that was like super cool. And then from that, partnering with Ducks, I did my first junior tournament, was a junior keeper. And man, my philosophy was like the player pack should get knocked out of the park. 4 or 5 times the value. I think it was like a $25 entry fee, and I mean, all Prodigy came through with they gave me huge deals on getting discs, and everybody else was just kind of throwing stuff at it. So it was really cool. And then I started to see other places around the area regionally that were starting to pop up junior tournaments and things like that. And couple years of that, and then it started to kind of drop off numbers wise. And as that was happening, is when I started to get involved in the after school disc golf clubs.
Okay.
So there was two schools in Wichita. I started at Earhart, which is an environmental magnet. So they actually have a 9-hole course on their property. A lot of their learning is done, like outdoorsy type stuff. They go camping, like leave Wednesday, don't get back to school till Friday. I mean, it's bonkers how cool this place is. And so I actually was talking to them before they had the disc golf course installed, and then kind of went away from it. And then when I came back in, there was 9 baskets planted. One of the teachers, his name's Trey. He was running the club. It was up and going great. I just basically came in to volunteer, and then Trey ended up picking up a position out of state, and so I kind of came in and then started running it. And of course, Bill Paulson has been a huge help. He's been there, from the beginning as well. So we started that, and then last 2 years ago now, but after running that, there's a school just up the road called Cloud Elementary, and they are right next door to Evergreen Park, and they have a pretty short course as well.
Okay.
And so I just, out of the blue, walked up to the PE teacher and said, "Hey, you want to start a disc golf club at your school?" And kind of explained what I was doing at Earhart, and he was like, "Sure, let's give it a shot." And so the crazy thing is he's got more kiddos over there that are interested. We're pulling we got about 20 kids.
Oh my gosh.
And what's really awesome about that is probably 2/3 of them are girls.
That's awesome.
So it's really cool to see what's going on there. And because of that, both of those schools feed into Pleasant Valley Middle School. And so I'm buddies with the administration, and so he actually was an administrator at Earhart, moved over to the middle school, and so they just ended up getting 9 baskets. And so we were talking about the the open space and all that. I mean, it would be really cool if they could do something.
Yeah.
But right now it's just wide open. So if there was a way to get a small course but have different obstacles and stuff like that are manufactured, it would be super cool.
Wow.
So
So how does I have so many questions. So I won't ask them all. We can talk offline. But so it like what's the policy with like taking the kids out and doing a club type deal, and like how involved did the parents need to be there? Like when you have 20 kids going out, is it just you? Do you have other, like, is the PE teacher coming? Are the parents required to also come?
Right,
Like,
right.
how does that work?
So we'll back up a bit. So with mini bombers, had nothing to do with school. I made it to where a parent had to be there. They couldn't just you can't just drop your kid off.
Okay.
You know, for all kinds of purposes, but mainly liability.
Right.
So with the schools, it's looked at as an after-school program, just like any other after-school program. So, so all the rules from the school that they would generally have are in place. So, I try to get as many adults as involved as possible. So I have a couple of parents. You know, I'll put out there, hey, you know, you don't have to know a whole lot. We're just trying to, you know, move kids around and make sure, you know, no one's getting hurt.
Yep.
It's wild because these kids they don't think about, like, man, they throw and they want to run, and then the next person is like, so wait a second, we got it's like one of these. We have a big safety. It's like every meeting, you know, we're like, okay, we're not gonna putt and then run to the basket, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, and just having enough adult hands there is pretty big.
Yep.
The Earhart is you know, it functions pretty good. We don't have as, like, Cloud Elementary has, man, their staff is like entirely bought in. I mean, it's like there's the PE teacher, sometimes both PE teachers, and then 3 or 4 other adult staff stay after,
Okay.
which is phenomenal.
Oh gosh, gotta
I
have.
mean, it's nice if you have one adult per, like, card.
Yeah.
You know, 4 kids.
Yep.
Is really the best that I've found, works the best.
So if you're running it solo, I think the reason I'm asking these questions is I think there is a lot of people nationwide in the disc golf community who are thinking about, how do I get youth involved? I'm one of them. I've talked to Scott several times about starting something because there are no options
Right.
here. So this is why are all my questions. So basically, if you're kind of, I'm just going to start something, you're going to require that it's not a drop-off situation. You need to be there with them. You're kind of in charge of your own child.
Yep.
That scenario. Are you still getting like insurance to cover you or anything like that? Or is it sort of a trust factor?
Yeah,
or is it like,
for me at that point in time, I mean, looking back, I was like, would I do it differently? I don't know. I didn't carry any type of insurance or anything like that.
okay.
Which is another reason, like, the parents, you know, have to be there.
Yeah.
If it were something that was gonna be a major thing, then I would, you know, you start looking at maybe waivers and things like that.
Yep.
But if the parents are there the entire time and they're responsible for their kids,
Yep.
then I'm not as worried about it.
And then with the schools, some schools you have to be like a staff member of the school if you want to be like a coach of any kind. Like I've been asked to like be an ultimate frisbee coach for a high school and things like that, but like because I wasn't on staff, I was not allowed to be the coach. And then some other schools are not like that. But how does that work with you in the schools that you are working with?
So the good thing is I am staff. I teach music to kids with special needs in Wichita Public Schools.
Awesome.
So I have 8 schools that I go to. So I could pretty much do this in any school and be the staff person,
Okay.
you know, to head it up. At this point, I mean, there's no stipend or anything like that. I'm volunteering my time. I mean, so, and then, you know, I try to pull in other staff where I can.
Yeah.
So
do you have any encouragement to like other staff members who do play disc golf that, you know, there's got to be thousands of them out there.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you don't have to be on a disc golf course, not even a 9-hole course, to start something like this. A lot of, like, we do relays, we do, you know, games like indoors for, P. I mean, Edge is definitely a good source. There's, what's the new one that started the
You play?
Uplay. Yeah. So, those are both good sources. Both of them have like books that have different games, and you look through there, and then you start coming up with games on your own.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got to a point to where it's like we can pretty much do that kind of stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
Just make it fun.
I can relate to that because I coached my son's baseball team, my second grader I've talked about before. And before it was like, look, I played baseball a lot when I was a kid and stuff like that. But like, I don't know how to be a coach or anything. But like, you know what? Fine. No one else wants to do it. I'll step up. I'll do it. And I love it.
Yeah.
Like, and what you're talking about right there is exactly what you do with kids. It's like,
sure.
yeah, we're going to play baseball maybe a little bit, but most of it's just like making up games like hit the bucket, which is just me hitting ground balls to the kids and be like, throw it back to me so I don't have to go, like your job is to try to hit the bucket of balls that are right here. And they like love the game and they're playing baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny that each group of kids has like their own like micro like culture.
Yeah.
So like what works with this group of kids, they will absolutely love it, but over here it's like, oh, we're bored, So, you kind of got to know the people that are in front of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, heck, that's part of the fun for me is just trying to figure out, what can we do that's going to, be fun, entertaining, but still teach the concepts of disc golf.
Yep.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's so awesome that you're doing that, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
That was
I
one
have
thing I
fun.
didn't know.
I have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just as much fun for me to see kids get hooked. I mean, through mini bombers, and we've had a couple of kids. One of them's a world champ.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, so Hudson, little Huddy Casper.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Won juniors last year.
yeah won.
That's
won
awesome.
What
worlds.
age is this?
I think he won 10.
10 or 12.
Yeah, 10 or
wow.
12. So that family started, and the weird thing is like it was kind of they come in and exit like it's kind of like they skill out with mini bombers because there's so many new kids that come in, and it was hard to keep everybody engaged because I might have, and I didn't put any age restrictions on it, so there was like 4-year-old kid coming with their parent, and so then you have another kid who's now they're starting to throw 250, 300 feet. So that became a challenge, a struggle for me to deal with because I'm like, oh man, these kids are moving on to other, I'm like, it's kind of knowing your role in the much bigger picture.
Yeah.
They got to get started somewhere, and it's not just get started, but get started and learn to love the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at that point, wherever they go is wherever they go. I mean, they're hooked. They love the game. So,
Yeah. That's
I mean, I think the club did its job. If that's
right,
if
exactly,
that's the outcome. right?
exactly. So, yeah, and it's fun, dude.
Good.
Love it.
Well, Scott, we wanted to talk about events because you run a lot of events as well. And you have the F3 series, which are like flex starts. You just ran this tournament, 2 tournaments, you said, this weekend. So like, how have you seen the events evolve over time? You were there with the COVID boom where they were filling up instantly. Now, not so much, but just kind of like, how does that fit in with everything you do?
I mean, tournaments, for the last 20 years, have definitely, changed from, the only way you found out about it was from flyers and you had to register on site. There was no online, there was no disc golf scene, things like that. You went to a tournament, you looked for the table that had all the flyers of all the upcoming tournaments. And that's kind of how you knew, to needing a book to figure out where you were going for all those tournaments from the old PDGA books. So kind of interesting. COVID, when COVID came, pre-COVID, it's kind of interesting. I remember, even we were using disc golf scene and stuff pre-COVID, but if tournaments didn't fill, it was fine. Like if I got 54 at a tournament, I was like, all right, no problem. I'm okay with that. I don't think you really knew what it was like to fill. I mean, some tournaments filled, but it wasn't an expectation. And then when COVID came, the expectation, it hit really quick. Like every tournament fills. And which was exciting. They would fill way early. So when it came to players package stuff, you could order. You knew exactly how much money came in. You knew exactly how much you could spend and how much you needed. Even if people dropped, people were coming back in. And then, the last year or so, it's reverted back to pre-COVID in the sense of lack of urgency. But I mean, tournaments, I still think it's bigger than it was pre-COVID as far as tournaments go. But there are a lot of tournaments, just because I think COVID showed people how easy tournaments were. So a lot of people jumped into it. I think some of them are starting to fade out now because they're losing money or they've invested. The way they run tournaments, they're investing into them in the sense that if they don't fill, they lose. They haven't quite learned how to manage that. As we're getting closer to tournaments, people are just waiting longer. So we're having to be more creative on how do I still get people to want to play the tournaments, still provide things like a player's package, but not take the risk of losing in the player's package or having extras in the player's package. How to be more creative in the sense of how do I raise money to cover excess costs for something or extra things. Like I've said earlier on, I like to run tournaments how I want to play it. So sometimes it might be things like I want food in a tournament. So how do I pay for that? Or what do I got to do to get the players to pay for that, but without feeling like you're nickel and diming, kinds of little things. Because you go into registration, it's like, oh, registration. Are you a PDGA member? Ace Pool, CTP. Oh, look, there's lunch. Do you want this exclusive limited edition disc? What about a shirt? If you're getting the shirt, now we're going to upsize for 2X, 3X, 4X. How about a sublimation shirt? And some of those tournaments, and you see it's everything. Yeah. And so now it's kind of more like I want maybe one or two of those things, but I still have to figure out how to cover off. Where COVID, I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. It just, everything filled. I was able to kind of come up with everything that I needed to run them. And I do fine. I mean, definitely I miss them filling. I don't really know what we got to do as a society, disc golf society, to get people to want to register earlier. 3 years ago, everybody registered months ahead, and now all of a sudden I'm not registering because I don't know if I'm going to be off that day. But 3 years ago, it didn't matter. Like everybody was able to register 3 years ago.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah, and now it's kind of like, we can register the week of. And I'm okay if that's the way it is. I just think a lot of tournament directors have to plan, and a lot of tournament directors it's getting hard for them. The other hard part there is it's hard to be excited about a tournament when you're going in the week of and you have 11 people. As an example, it's hard to be like, you know what, I'm doing all this extra stuff for 11 people. But again, I've kind of also had to reteach myself. It's like we can't count on the 11. You still got to count that. Hopefully, you're going to get to 50 or 72, and you can't be down because it's going to be affected on the tournaments.
I think the other side of that is like, and
the
I think
economy's changed a lot.
You alluded to it a little bit, but since COVID, the amount of tournaments that are available for me to play
A ton.
that is within an hour drive or hour and a half drive of me versus pre-COVID, it's like if there was a tournament on a weekend, it's like that's the tournament that everybody was going to within the a region.
Yeah.
And now it's getting spread really thin. So it's like now you got to start thinking of things. Okay, what do I do at my tournament to, entice people?
Yeah.
To play mine versus this one or another one. And then you start talking about, well, why is everybody doing so many B tiers, and how come there's a bazillion A tiers? Every weekend so that's another, I think, part of it that comes into play is. Everybody's becoming a tournament director and putting on tournaments, and I mean, it becomes tough.
My role has shifted a lot over. I mean, I don't run nearly. I still run more tournaments than probably most people, but I don't run anything like I used to. I mean, there's years I was running 40 a year, as an example, and now I mean, besides my F3s, I have 6. And so I have kind of some of my key ones that I have, but my company side is it's been a better value for me to be a part of helping other tournaments. Not only providing things they need, but like kind of like going to the Nevada or some of those, or Kansas City Wide Open, being a voice, being an advisor, and helping, giving suggestions. Sometimes there's been a lot of tournaments that I'm not official, but I'm brought in on any of those official cases just from the experience. But at the end of the day, I'm not the one who has to deal with it up front. I'm there as I'm needed. So that's a kind of something more like I want to have my experience where I can, but I don't need to be the person who's out front. I've run more tournaments than, I can count, and I don't need to be that person in anymore. There's a time I enjoyed it, and I still do. I enjoy it. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, even today, the amount of compliments that you get, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes, and it's not why you're doing it, but at the same time, you walk away like, all right, it kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But then, then I have the F3s, so which stands for Flexible Floating Fridays, and I started those. I think this was fifth year, maybe the fourth year, 2021. So it would have been the fifth season. 2021 was the first season, and I got the idea from watching down in Texas. I went down to Texas. Steve O'Sori, who owns the Dynamic Disc store down there, runs them every Friday out there, and I happened to go down there and ran across one. I was like, this is a pretty awesome idea. I came to Kansas City, or I came home, and I remember presenting it to the board, like we have to do for a lot of tournaments. And I was like, and they're like, you want to do a PDGA league? I'm like, no, I want a full-on PDGA C tier every Friday, or as Fridays I work on my schedule. And they're like, well, that won't work. Like, you're not gonna, our leagues are only getting 30 people, or something like that. So it's just not. I was like, but if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I got the approvals, and I did it, and I was averaging like 93, as an event. So, and I think over the 5 years, I've gone from anywhere from averaging 93 to 68 or something like that, and then this year we averaged 81. And so it's just the F3s are their own beast, and they're easy to run, time consuming. I mean, I travel a lot, so every Friday, so I've had to help start finding a crew. And even this coming year, I already know some of my crews left, so I have to kind of figure out, just because as much as I'm traveling or working on projects, and then even just going back to Underpar has grown more than enough that taking Friday off to sit out there means I'm probably in there on Saturday or Sunday to make up for Friday, because I can only do so much from my phone while I'm out there on Friday. Yeah. But, my outside disc golf world doesn't stop on Friday. So that started to become a little bit more of a challenge of due dates, and I need this apparel and stuff because they've got stuff on Friday, and I got to pick things up, drop things off, whatever. And but the F3s have been kind of an unexpected positive, and I think a lot of people like the F3s, but F3s have really evolved, created, almost every disc company in Kansas City runs a flex of something, fundraiser, a series of something, which I always kind of smile at, which I think kind of birthed from the success of seeing the F3s. And even before the F3s, I used to do occasional pop-ups, flex events, but they just weren't streamlined like the F3s kind of came along. But yeah, I think I just looked today. I think I'm at 317 PDGA events.
Wow.
And then not counting the, 6 years of non-sanction that I did with the Kansas Disc Golf Association.
Yeah.
Before that, so
a lot of events. Yeah, doing 40 in 1 year, that's a lot.
Yeah. But I'm getting closer, and as much as probably a lot of the players don't want to hear it, it's like I'm getting closer and closer to, like, I need to start stepping away.
Yeah.
I need some of these other tournament directors, just because it's taken a toll, and I do enjoy them, but I don't always enjoy them as much. I enjoyed this weekend, but these tournaments this weekend were kind of more special tournaments.
Yeah.
Like I said, the fall harvest I do, and I do the skateboard, and I got to do the introduction to the new course, and there's a lot of positives. And I like Spoon Creek, so Spoon Creek's just a fun place to be at. But not every tournament. There's some tournaments I'm starting to have to pick if I don't have that spark in me. I was like, I got to walk away from that one.
I would say that's like not uncommon amongst like the generation, like you've been doing this 30 years.
Yeah, and I just turned 50. Yeah.
And so like I think I consider you OG of like the OGs are kind of like at that point where it's like, I still love it, still want to like help, but like the next generation needs to kind of step up and
you're starting to get those with the Krugers and the Jerry, and some of those, and they've done really good things with like the KC Wide Open, and both of them were, helping me in the early days, and I always feel positive of helping them learn, and so you kind of have that. But as far as like the everyday tournaments. Like the F3s is an example. Like, I could, if I stopped doing them, somebody else would pick them up. I have no doubt about that. But one of the things I like about the F3s from a business perspective is F3s are community. Like I utilize multiple stores. It's not just an Underpar thing. I share it with other people. The idea has never been Underpar gets the branding, but it's never been about Underpar. Where Fall Harvest was about Underpar, Spoon Creek was about Underpar. F3s are always a community thing, and I always feel like if I give it up, probably more like one of the stores will pick them up, and then it'll become strictly those, because it doesn't make sense for them to want to share it with competing stores, where I don't have a brick and mortar store to compete with. So at the end of the day, all of those are my customers, so I'm helping with all of them. And so there's little things that make it a little bit difficult sometimes to make choices. But but I do have to make a choice as I get farther, and I would imagine. Me and my wife have talked. I would imagine the next 5 years I'll probably be making some pretty dramatic choices. I'm to that point of I got to figure out where I'm at, and we kind of set off camera. Like me and Brent were talking, like I do a little of everything, and I've done everything, and it takes a toll after a while of like, what are you doing? And then my kids are older. I have a grandkid. My wife, just a lot of things in my life that have nothing to do with disc golf. In tournaments, and that's kind of a lot of people learn that with tournaments. You run tournaments, and it's its own life. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you're away from family. It's always Saturdays and Sundays, which is your family time, and so. But I've loved tournaments, and just I like playing tournaments, and
So if you're encouraging the next gen of TDs to start like taking that first step to like run your first one, like keep going. What would be like your love letter to those people to be like encouraging them to do it? Like you're obviously saying like, hey, in the next 5 years, I'm going to be stepping out, but I loved the last 30 years of being a part of the tournaments and things like that. But can you sort of like, when you're talking right now, can you just sort of write that love letter to the next generation of TDs of encouragement?
I'd say to figure out if you want to do it, the first thing you need to do is figure out if you want to do it. And part of that is like I always encourage people like, just come hang out with me during a tournament. Come sit behind me as I'm doing check-in, just so you can see that process. Ask all the questions that you want and figure out, listen throughout the day of not just the people excited because you gave them a shirt or a disc at the beginning, but listening to the people who are mad because they bogeyed, missed 4 C1X putts, or something like, well, maybe not 6, but circle 1 putts. And, then they're complaining, and then they're complaining to you about, whatever, and complaints are fine, but not everybody has that thick skin. So you kind of have to look, are you happy by doing the happy stuff and seeing people be frustrated? They may not even be frustrated at you, but you're frustrated because they're frustrated about something you did, kind of stuff. So just making sure it's what you want to do. But I go back to kind of my original quote of, create a tournament the way you want to play a tournament. That's really the simplest thing I've ever come down to. If whether it's super simple, unsanctioned, whether it's a party event, whether you want to go all out and have $200 players package and water in all 18 holes and those kind of things, figure out what makes your perfect tournament, and then figure out what's realistic in those. But yeah, just kind of breaking it apart. But first you got to decide, you got to learn, do you like it? I think people think they like it until they go to do it. And then they realize how much work, and that's a lot of things in disc golf. I mean, even a lot of businesses in disc golf, you see them start a store because they think it's awesome. And then they realize how much work it is. And tournaments are a lot of work. I mean, for me, it's second nature now. I can do it the night before, ultimately, in these tournaments. But in a lot of cases, you can't do that. You need to be out in the courses weeks before, figuring out the layouts and the courses and how the flow, who's playing the course, pros versus AMs. How is that going to affect? Because this pro is going to play it in 3 minutes, but these guys are going to take 15 minutes to play. But then all of a sudden, you got a 5-card backup because of the way a hole is laid out based on the skill level you have, and there's just a lot of minute details.
Yeah.
And they're not hard. It's just understanding them. But you have to.
You don't know till you know.
You don't know until you know, but you have to figure out as a tournament director, can you handle all of those stuff? And the other hard part with tournaments is, in my mind, It's my job. So I can go out on a Wednesday afternoon and just do it without worrying about anybody else. But most people have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And their days off are 6 o'clock at night. And this time of year, now it's dark, but even at 6 o'clock at night, which then also means they're potentially, if they've got kids, they're missing kids stuff, or they have to make choices, or the weekends, now they're not mowing the lawn, or they're not doing whatever household stuff they have to do. And that's, I think, can get in the way. So it's not for everybody, but you have to decide, is it for you? But there's also tons of levels to do. You could do Trilogy Challenge, MVP Circuit stuff. You can do an unsanctioned one-rounder. You could just start running a league, things like that. So there are a lot of variations, and those are a lot of things to figure out if you're going to like it. But ultimately, I say just shadow someone. Come hang out at a tournament.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Running a league is a good entry point into it, because you'll find out real quick if it's something that you like to do or not. The other thing for me is I come from a hospitality, like concert promoting, so hospitality is huge. So you can't just say, oh, I'm going to run this tournament, and you get all the big things taken care of, and then all the little details are left out, because people will figure out real quick. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to play that tournament. They didn't put much thought into it. They didn't pay attention to any of the details. So I think that's kind of a big deal.
One of the biggest things that I've learned when you're also the tournament director versus players is, throwing out a number, but 75% of all players are not happy with how they play. So if their only experience is at their tournament, or they walk away from their tournament and the only thing they have is those 4 putts they've missed, they played bad, they didn't cash, they missed the cut, things like that, your tournament sucks. That's the way they're going to look at it. It doesn't matter what you did to it. If that is the only thing that you've done, that's the only memory they have. So for me, as far as how do you make them run a tournament, it's the hospitality, welcoming them in, getting them excited there. At lunchtime, after those rounds, sometimes it's just the communication of things, and it's not like, shaking their hand kind of thing, but more of they just played round, and all of a sudden, when's second round start? They haven't posted anything yet. Where am I finding this? So it adds to that frustration versus, blah, 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 I played bad. Oh, next round's in an hour. Okay, I'm on hole 2. I got this going on. This is over there. And now all of a sudden, things are back under control because they're not having to hunt for it. And I remember my parents as a kid is, you see a chip on the wall, you keep digging at it, until it becomes a problem. And that's what it is. They're having a problem. And when you're not doing things right, they're chipping away at what you're doing wrong. So my goal is, when I'm trying to make things positive, I can't control what they do on the course. I can't control a driver or putt, but I can control their first experiences. When I go to a course, I want to be on the course, and in most cases, I want to be set up when that first person shows up on the course. So when that first person shows up, I've got my booth, my players package stuff set up. I might say today, 8 o'clock is what we said, and I think 7:35 is where headed stuff set, like getting people out earlier. Even quicker. They're not expecting. They're like, are you ready at 8? Nope, I'm good. Let's go. So my goal is to be ahead. Having that stuff at lunch afterwards. So many people are used to waiting. I don't know, we don't do awards like we used to, but people are used to waiting forever awards. And I've had to learn first those cards come in, let's go. I want to get you going, and I want to get
we don't need to do Ring of Fire anymore.
But it's those little things. Again, at the end of the day, they're sitting after second round. It's like, I just want to go home. I just want to get my stuff. But if they jump in right away, and you're kind of like, all right, let's get these going, and here's how we're doing this stuff, and blah blah blah, and you get things. Just all of a sudden you've kind of cooled down. Those expectations they have, and it's just that hospitality. And there's things you can go over the top and do. But really, it's communication and organization, and but you can't control.
If those aren't your strong suits, TD's probably not the best job for you. So we'll take you setting up the course, putting up, hanging up the feather banners. Like you can be the second man at a tournament, and
there's a lot of
have
roles.
a blast doing that.
There's a lot of roles.
Rules.
And don't have to be the person out front. So.
Thank you guys for coming on here today. We really appreciate you, especially last
Hey,
minute,
man,
just
thanks
being
for
like,
having
heck
me. It's been
yeah.
a blast.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Scott, thanks for bringing him on. Kenny, it was really great to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Scott,
guys.
thanks so much for everything. Everything you've done in the last 30 years, it's been incredible. The courses you've designed around here, people are loving it. So appreciate you coming on, talking about it all,
My pleasure.
sharing your story. So I'm gonna give you some gifts before you go. A little players pack action
Sweet.
here. Okay, so we got some nice stickers here, some grip and BKS. They've been supporting the show since day one.
Awesome.
So thank you to those guys. Also, grip hats. Kenny got you a flat bill one. Looks like you
Cool.
like the
Yeah,
flat
yeah.
bill, but obviously we can get something else later if you guys
Yeah.
want. But here's some grip hats. Those are great because they actually took the time and custom designed those to make sure that
That's
they
awesome.
fit really nice. And then Scott, you are definitely on the episode, supporter of the show. Thank you so much. But you got these sick shirts made for us, so we really appreciate it.
Made your own shirt. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, Scott and I worked together. Like I did the design,
Yeah,
came up with the
cool.
concept. But Scott, you just approached us at Kansas City Wide Open.
Yeah.
Scott and I were just walking around, and you were like, "I love the show. Want to support you guys. Let's do something together." So this shirt is what we did together, and we really appreciate it. I've handed them out to a few other friends, and even my wife and daughter got the other colorway, and they're like loving it. So she was wearing it today. So thank you so much for making these for us. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you. So yeah, and I'll continue to be a part of it, and hopefully we can work on a few other things in the future. But no, like I said, I love what you do, and I appreciate you having us on. And
Yeah, dude.
tell them my story. So
Yes, thank you, Ken.
Absolutely nice to meet you guys.
thank you guys.
All right, that's it. Thanks, guys. See you.
Cool.
Hey.
Thank you so much.